Torah guardian, speaking the absolute truth. Torah nation.
Shalom, 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 Yasharah and Yahuda, grafted in Gentiles to the body for my shop. I'm listening to a new one by Hezekiah. The song is entitled Pure. It's a product of Isaiah, the 22nd chapter. He's made my desires pure. He's received the witness of Yahushua HaMashiach, the sprinkling of water and the blood. Listen. Be touching scriptures than touching these bangs. No riches gon' profit nothing in a day of rain. I was living in my mess, I had to take a bath. Created me a thing, Abba made me pure. The things of the world, y'all, it's time to ignore. I want love, I want peace, I want everlasting life. Well done, my good and faithful servant, walking in that light. I'm on this narrow path, trying to save a soul. I want my people in Jerusalem, the days of hope. Yes. I want to get to the homeless, show them that he cares. I want to get a homeless, hope we almost out of here. That's what we should be doing. That's the witness. Ain't no pagans over here, we keeping holy days. I want my people stopping killing, we dropping the prophets. I want us come back to the laws, it ain't no other option. Don't want no hate up in my heart, not over no doctrine. Yeah. I want the fruits of the spirit, y'all could keep the nonsense. Keep the nonsense. I had to renew my mind, I had to free my conscience. I had to confess my sins, I had to be honest. I want the Ruach to come into me. Listen. I only trust the Father, not the enemy. Listen. I only want the spirit, so I'm kidding me. The Father gave me righteous things that I desire. I want to see the kingdom. Listen, this is Hezekiah, right? This song is entitled Pure. I don't own the rights to this music, but this I key right here, you made my desires pure. Listen, listen, listen. You made my desires pure. In the Ruach HaKodesh now, the witness of Yahushua HaMashiach establishes you in the love of Yahuwah, right? Right? You've been purged from your wicked desires through faith in HaMashiach and his blood. Now the Ruach HaKodesh lives in you, and your desires should be to him. Your desires should be pure. You should not be laying the grounds of repentance to sin, because now you have the capacity to live righteous, and you should be able to live pure. Listen, listen, this Aki right here. Listen. Listen. This Aki is established in Yahuwah's witness. It comes out in his music. It comes out in the witness. Yes, y'all hear me. See all that weight that was on our shoulders. You made my desires pure. By the Ruach HaKodesh now. What's the things of this world? You made my desires. See, because once you are established in the Ruach HaKodesh, you don't want the things of this world. Thank you, Father. You made my desires pure. Because he's received the witness. Hallelujah. Listen. This Aki right here, right? This Aki right here, listen. This Aki right here understands. He has the witness.
and the word coming forth from this Aki. Listen. Hezekiah. Right? Now you know I still gotta play. I still gotta play my favorite song of this Aki. Right? I still gotta play. I'm sorry. I gotta play this. And I know, you know, listen. We gotta play this Ox song, because this is, because you know I've already listened to it several times already, but you know, this is it. Yahuwah, in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach, I give you praise. For your Ruach HaKodesh, I give you praise. I give you praise, Yahuwah, for establishing me in the witness, the water, the blood, and the Ruach HaKodesh, for establishing me in the witness. Yahuwah, I give you praise. Yahuwah, for causing me to want to declare the witness of Yahushua HaMashiach as it is in the recorded in the Acts of the Apostles, and as it is recorded by Yahushua HaMashiach himself, this witness that is by the Ruach HaKodesh. Yahuwah, I give you praise. Yahuwah, I'm praying right now in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach. Yahuwah, I'm praying right now in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach, that the words that you've given me, I can give to them. Yahuwah, I'm praying that you would take the reins of my lips and the reins of my tongue and reign. Yahuwah, 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 reign. Yahuwah, reign. Yahuwah, reign. In the name of Yahushua HaMashiach, over the words that I speak. Yahuwah, cause me not to cause anyone to stumble, anyone to be turned out of the way, anyone to come up lame. Yahuwah, I submit myself unto you and your Ruach HaKodesh as a vessel to be used. Yahuwah, Yahushua said that when the Ruach HaKodesh has come upon me, it will lead me and guide me into all truth. Yahuwah, help me to receive the wisdom that is in the Ruach HaKodesh always, and help to be led by this wisdom always. Yahuwah, this Ruach HaKodesh that you put in me that will lead me and guide me into all truth. Yahuwah, cause me to be led by your Ruach HaKodesh always. Yahuwah, I pray that the words that I speak would minister life. Yahuwah, that they would bring forth healing, that they would bring forth deliverance. Yahuwah, I pray in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach, according to the words which you gave to him that he has given to me, I pray in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach by the Ruach HaKodesh that signs will follow the Besorah of Truth ministry, that signs will follow the Besorah of Truth assembly, that signs will follow those that are in the Besorah of Truth that have received the witness of Yahushua HaMashiach and that have received the Ruach HaKodesh, that they would go forth with signs following. That's why, because this is why we preach. This is why we declare your word. Yahuwah, let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight. Yahuwah, my strength and my redeemer. Listen, you already know. The song is entitled Yerushalayim. It's sung by none other than Hezekiah. Yeah, this Aki. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, he understands the Ruach HaKodesh. He understands the Ruach HaKodesh in him. Listen. Listen. They gonna find out that the Father's hands are strong. Come on, Zion. Come on, Yasharal, Yahuda. Come on, Yehuda. Receive the witness. Get established in the Ruach HaKodesh. Because that's the only way. That's the only way you're going back. No. That's the only way you're going back, is being established in the witness of Yahushua HaMashiach, having received the Ruach HaKodesh. Yahweh, I pray that they would receive the witness of Yahushua HaMashiach. I pray that they would receive the Ruach HaKodesh. I pray that not only would they receive it, once having received it, that they would obey it. That they would allow it to lead them and guide them into all truth every day, in every way, in every area. In the name of Yahushua HaMashiach, listen. You have to receive the witness. You have to receive the witness. You have to receive the witness. Hallelujah. We going in. The Most High has instructed me, and I don't care how redundant this may sound to you. The Most High Yahuwah Eluah and his son Yahushua HaMashiach by the Ruach HaKodesh has instructed me to tell you that you must receive the Ruach HaKodesh in order to be established in his kingdom. You must walk in the entire witness of Yahushua HaMashiach, the water, the blood, and the Ruach HaKodesh. You have to, right? And as many as are led by the Ruach HaKodesh, the scriptures declare these are the sons of Eluah. You have to receive the Ruach HaKodesh in order to be established as sons in the kingdom, right? Listen, Enoch said, in the seventh week a perverse generation shall arise, and abundant shall be its deeds, and all the deeds of them shall be perverse, but during the completion of this, the righteous shall be selected. The righteous shall be selected. The righteous shall be selected from the everlasting plant of righteousness, the everlasting plant of righteousness, of which seed that man, from which that man afterwards, in the third week, during this completion, a man of the plant of righteousness, Ivriyt, right? The man of the plant of righteousness, the man of the plant of righteousness, right? Elohiym, right? Of righteousness shall come forever, right? The man Elohiym from the plant of righteousness, Yahusha, right? Shall come forever, right? He will be established in the loins of Elohiym through Yitzhak and Yaakov, right? Through the 12 tribes, right? Through specifically the Lion of Judah, of which whom Yahuwah told David, who was after his own heart, right? That the scepter was not going to part from him. That his seed would be established. His seed would be established in the kingdom forever. Yahushua HaMashiach, of the tribe of Yehuda, right? Right? Yaakov told his sons that Yehuda was a lion's whelp. And from the prey, my son, thou hast gone up. You crouch like a lion, and like an old lion, who shall rouse him up? The scepter shall not depart from Yehuda, or a lawgiver from between his feet, until Yahushua HaMashiach comes. And unto him will the gathering of the people be. Yahushua HaMashiach is that righteous plant from whom a righteous will be selected. He has chosen, he chosen from the foundations of the earth, right? A righteous seed that is chosen out of Yahushua HaMashiach, or chosen out of Yahushua HaMashiach's Yeshua, Right. Now he chooses the nation of Yasharal because he came to them, but there are those that are in Yasharal that are not chosen because they won't receive the witness. There are those in Yasharal that are not chosen that will not receive the witness, but Yahusha is still selecting righteous, choosing righteous people from the everlasting plant, Yahusha HaMashiach, faith in Yahusha HaMashiach, right? Those who receive the witness, right, being Hebrew or Gentile, right, because the Gentiles are a wild olive branch that are grafted in, that have received, that have come from Yahusha's witness and are a part of that righteous plant that they have come from in Yahusha Mashiach. They've established in the witness. They're established in the witness. Listen, they are established in the witness, right? Listen, Yasharal and Yahuda, you better get a clue. You better get a clue. You better hear the word of Yahuwah. You better receive the witness. You better walk in the Ruach HaKodesh. You better receive the witness. You better be led by the Ruach HaKodesh. You better be guided by the Ruach HaKodesh, because if you refuse to obey and listen to the Ruach HaKodesh, guess what? It doesn't matter how pure your motives are, right? There's consequences to your actions, right? Ask Shaul. Yeah, right. Shaul can tell you, right? Shaul can tell you because he didn't listen to the Ruach HaKodesh. Yeah, that boy so cool shit. Shaul did not listen to the Ruach HaKodesh. He had the Ruach HaKodesh. He had the Ruach HaKodesh. He had signs following him. He obeyed the Ruach HaKodesh in most things. But in this thing right here, he was so straitened to die for Yahusha, to be taken in bonds by Yahusha. He was convinced that that's what he was to do. And he refused to obey the Ruach HaKodesh, which told him don't go to Jerusalem. He refused to receive the witness of the use of the Ruach HaKodesh. Now see, Yahusha had came to Paul in a vision when he was in Ephesus, right? And it was there, I think it was in Ephesus. It was there where he was kind of concerned about persecution. Yeah, he was, right? Because he'd been running from the Jews. Because Yahuwah had to come to him in a vision and tell him, don't be worried. Don't be concerned. Go forth and preach and declare the witness, because I got people here. Right? Yahuwah should have told him what to do. Warned him in the vision, right? Now here he's on his way back to Jerusalem because, Paul's straightened. And listen, you know what? It's one thing to be straightened in obedience and walking completely in the witness of Yahushua HaMashiach. And it's another thing to be straightened and to make a choice to disobey the Ruach HaKodesh just because you feel like this is what you need to do, right? You have to know that the Ruach HaKodesh is moving you and leading you to do things. And if you have the slightest bit of doubt, right, you need to get before Yahuwah, fast and pray, and seek his guidance. Don't just move. And then hear what the Ruach HaKodesh has to say. Let's go in. We completed the 21st chapter, right? We completed the 21st chapter, right? But you know what? We going to look at this again because there's some things that I want to highlight from this. We're going to make it into the 22nd chapter, right? But there's some things that I want to hit here that are important to recognize, right? Because this is what the Ruach HaKodesh looks like. There's nothing in here that does not reflect what the Ruach HaKodesh looks like. Everything that we see here is a result of what the Ruach HaKodesh looked like. And the outcome of having not taken heed to the Ruach HaKodesh is still picturesque in this portion of scriptures that reflect what it is and what the Ruach HaKodesh does, and how the Ruach HaKodesh is a leader and a guider into all truth. All right? Let's look at this. Right? 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 So we have Paul, right, having left, right? Sailed from Maltius, right? Acts 1. He's left, and, you know, he's on a mission to get to Jerusalem. And he's trying to get to Jerusalem before Pentecost, right? Trying to get to Jerusalem before Pentecost. Right? Now listen. Throughout this missionary journey and throughout this time, right? It was not for a desire to be at Pentecost because it being Pentecost. It was more of Paul's desire to go to Jerusalem to show them what he has accomplished in his ministry and his work to the Gentiles. Because the scriptures does not ever having Paul in the 3 years that he was ministering in a way, or even more, reflect that he ever went back to Jerusalem for Pentecost, or for any other feast for that matter. Right? Doesn't say that at all. In actuality, Paul probably spent time with the Gentiles, right, during the feast days, showing them what that looks like, where they were, right? Right? Because, you know, the Gentiles weren't attached to the covenant like we were, right? They weren't attached to the covenant like the nation and the tribe were, right? Hence the reason why, you know, James spoke in reference to how, you know, when the issue came up in regards to circumcision, he said, listen, that's not their custom. That's not their custom, right? But what we need to have them understand that there's violations of the Torah, right, that they can't do. They can't serve and have nothing to do with other idols, because, you know, that negates everything, because it's all about Yahuwah and Yahusha. So if you're going to maintain your idolatry and you know it's about Yahuwah and Yahusha, then you sin. It can't work, right? If you fornicate, that's a violation of the Torah. That's a violation of the law of Yahushua HaMashiach, right? That's a violation of the law of Yahuwah, right? You can't do that, right? The expectation is there's no fornication, nothing offered to idols, no eating food offered to idols, and no drinking of blood, right? These were things that the Gentiles did, right? That they could not do any longer, right? And, you know, Paul didn't make it to the feast days, right? Right? And you know, there's a portion of scripture, and I can't remember exactly where it is, where he says, let no man call you into question in relationship to the days of the week, or days, or all of that, right? In reference to the some of the days that Yahudim celebrate, right? That they hold on to, right? And the reality of it is they were Gentiles. So there's no record, really, that Paul ever went to Jerusalem, right? Because it was about keeping Pentecost, because his mission was to the Gentiles. And the Gentiles never kept a Pentecost. They would have no reason to keep Pentecost, because they didn't know the feast days like that, unless Paul took the time to spend it with them and to educate them in reference to it, right? So, and which I'm sure he did, right? Because there's no record of him ever going to Jerusalem, other than this time when he said he wants to make it back, right, for Pentecost, right? Jerusalem, right? He hadn't been there 3 years, because he'd been amongst the Gentiles for 3 years. Right? He had been amongst the Gentiles for 3 years, right? Acts 21:4 says, and finding the disciples, we tarried there 7 days. So they tarried in Tyre, right? As they took while the ship was being offloaded, right? They tarried there, right? And Paul had a disciple, right? There was some disciples there that they had found, right? That they had knew, right? That when Paul was there, right? Who said to Paul through the Ruach HaKodesh, right? That he should not go to Jerusalem. Because that's what the Ruach HaKodesh looks like. The Ruach HaKodesh always warns you, right? It'll show you, right? It ain't going to let you run into no situation, right, that's potentially dangerous for you, or not even that necessarily potentially dangerous. It's not one that he wants you to take right now. Because he went into the other territories, ended up being stoned and got up, right? And Yahuwah raised him up. Well, Yahuwah wanted him there, right? There was a time when he was in jail and he was in prison, right? He was beat. He was in prison. He was there because he was supposed to be there, right? Because he had a jailer that he had to witness to. Come on, y'all. Listen. There is a suffering sometimes that you incur because of the righteousness of what the outcome is. There is something that Yahuwah and Yahusha is going to provide or benefit from the suffering that you go through at that time, right? And that suffering that Paul went to establishes his disciples and established to Paul in the idea that Yahuwah had said there were some things that he was going to suffer, right? And now after he suffered that, after he had suffered the stripes, he was always able to escape because the Ruach made provisions for him to get out. In those times that Yahuwah had chose it, he was given provisions to escape, right? Right? Paul received the word by the Ruach HaKodesh, don't go to Jerusalem. He went anyway. Right? As a man that was filled with the Ruach HaKodesh, who his blanket, his body, they took handkerchiefs and cloths because of the Ruach HaKodesh and the anointing on him. And when it went with people, the devils and demons came out. The same Ruach HaKodesh Paul, right, didn't receive the witness. Didn't obey the word that the Ruach HaKodesh gave him. Because Paul was straightened to go testify to the church at Jerusalem. To even perhaps show them, look what we doing. Look what we doing. So, Paul purposed to go to Jerusalem anyway. Right? Now here's something else that kind of caught my attention, right? The time that Paul, right, he ended up in Pontus and he abode there for a few days, right, before he got to Caesarea, right? So Acts the 28th, the 8th verse of that 21st chapter says, and the next day we were of Paul's company departed and came into Caesarea, right? Caesarea. And we entered into the house of Philip the evangelist. We talked about Philip the evangelist and, how he was established in the Ruach HaKodesh and what he did, right? Right? Entered to the house of Philip the evangelist, which was one of the 7, and he abode with him, right? Right? And as we tarried there many days, no, wait. I want to go up because there's something else that I missed that I don't want to miss. Where's that? Oh, yeah. Verse 9, right? And the same man had 4 daughters, right? Virgins, which did prophesy, right? They prophesied. Right? What did they prophesy? We don't know. Right? But it was important and established enough here that they prophesied. Right? Perhaps they prophesied to Paul concerning his venture to Jerusalem? We don't know. But they prophesied. Right? Right? And he says, and we tarried there many days, and there came from Judea Agabus. Right? Who, by the Ruach HaKodesh, right, took Paul's girdle and bound his hands and his feet. Right? And said, by the Ruach HaKodesh, so shall the Yahudiym at Jerusalem bind the man that owneth this girdle, and shall deliver him into the hands of the Gentiles. Right? Yahuwah is fulfilling his word. Yahuwah is confirming, right? Because Paul failed to receive the witness. Right? Now, some may argue, well, that was just the way that Paul was supposed to go. That was his course. That was what he was supposed to do. I would say it wasn't. Right? I would say Yahuwah will take a situation and still turn it about and work it together for his good, because Paul's motives may have been partially righteous, or it could have been Paul. Paul was determined to go to Jerusalem. Perhaps Paul was feeling like, man, it's been a long time since I've been to Jerusalem. I need to go to Jerusalem. I need to go to the Feast of Pentecost. Right? I haven't been there in 3 years. I haven't seen the disciples in 3 years. Yet no one sent a letter or concerned about Paul's attendance during the feast days. Right? No letters, because they sent letters. Oh, yeah. They had a problem with the church, our church. They sent letters. Right? Paul, he was like, well, I need to let them know what's going on. Right? What Yahuwah is doing through me. The people that I'm reaching. Yahuwah said, don't go. I'm ready to die. It doesn't matter. I'm ready to go through it all. Prison, beatings, stonings, death. I'm ready. Yahuwah says, okay. I warned you. This could have been foregone. You didn't have to go through this. But I warned you in the Ruach HaKodesh. And when I tell you a thing, it comes to pass. I said my Ruach HaKodesh told you not to go to Jerusalem. Right? I had four virgin women prophesy to you. We don't know what they said, but they prophesied. Right? Because we don't always understand. We are not always privy to everything that's recorded. We don't have a play-by-play on everything. So we know what's in here is designed to give us an idea of what it looks like. And evidently Paul, who was led by the Ruach HaKodesh, still made a choice to quench the Ruach HaKodesh, not take the advice of the Ruach HaKodesh and move forward as he wanted to. It's a dangerous thing. It's dangerous. The man of Yahuwah. Now, this is the difference between Yahushua HaMashiach and us. Yahushua had the Ruach HaKodesh without measure. Yahushua was straightened and doing what Yahuwah said. And Yahushua also knew when to go in and when not to go in. Yahushua knew what to do and when to do it, because he had the Ruach without measure. He was the son of Elohiym, and Yahuwah had established him at the time he was baptized. When putting his Ruach HaKodesh in Yahushua without measure, he had established him in the Ruach HaKodesh. Right? Right? Without measure. Yahushua would have never have disobeyed the Ruach HaKodesh. He wouldn't have. Paul, right? Because he got the Ruach HaKodesh in measure. Because that's all his body can withstand. Right? That's all his bodies will withstand. And with that, you still have a conscious decision that you can make to quench the Ruach HaKodesh. You don't have to. You don't have to quench the Ruach HaKodesh. You can listen and obey what it says and move forward in it and receive the blessings that are attached to obedience and obeying the Ruach HaKodesh. And well, Paul, he didn't. Right, in Agabus, his name means locust. Right? Every time you call Agabus, his name means locust. And locusts come to devour. Right? Right? Yahuwah sent a locust with a word. I mean, not a locust, a prophet, but a man. Right? Paul, it's your last time. I'm warning you. I'm warning you. Right? I'm warning you. And when we heard these things, both we, verse 12, and they of the place besought him not to go up to Jerusalem. We begged him. Paul, don't go to Jerusalem. Paul, don't go to Jerusalem. You remember the word that we received from the disciples? Said not to go. We heard the 4 young virgins of Philip prophesy. Beg you don't go up. And Paul answered, what means ye to weep and break mine heart? That's a man that's so focused on what he wants to do, he isn't seeing or hearing anything that the Ruach HaKodesh is saying. He's driven. Right? Was that necessary? No, it wasn't. This is what the Ruach HaKodesh looks like. Right? And the Ruach HaKodesh is the Ruach HaKodesh of truth. So when Agabus gave the word knowing that Paul was going to do exactly what Paul wanted to do. Yahuwah sent that word by Agabus, knowing that Paul was going to do exactly what Paul said he was going to do. Paul, after having heard this, did not change his mind. Yahuwah's word had to come to pass, and Agabus carried the word by the Ruach HaKodesh to Paul. Same way the disciples told him in the Ruach HaKodesh, don't go to Jerusalem. But Paul was straight. Whatever his motivations, they weren't led by the Ruach HaKodesh. I ain't gonna ask myself, why'd you put this in here? I mean, why? Because you conclude that, the man or the woman that has the Ruach HaKodesh is going to always make the right choices, right? Without this portion of revelation in Scripture. Because you assume that having received the Ruach HaKodesh, you're bound to make the right decisions. But in reality, the Ruach HaKodesh is there to lead you and to guide you as you submit yourself to the Ruach HaKodesh. As you give him the reins of your lips and the reins of your tongue. As you give him your body to be used as an instrument of righteousness. Right? As you say and believe, it comes to pass. Yahuwah speaks through you. Yahuwah declare a word to you. Yahuwah will show you. Yahuwah will tell you when it's time to stop. Right? Tell you when it's time to stop. Here, Shaul saw the manifestation of exactly what Yahuwah said, right, would come to pass because Yahuwah had warned him. And Yahuwah, he's gracious because, he still lets you know what's going to happen. It didn't have to happen. You his righteous servant who didn't do what was right. I know that's going to make some people like, oh, what are you talking about? The word of Yahuwah, right, is righteous. Right? Yahuwah leads and guides. Right? Leads and guides. Right? So here we have Paul saying to them, answer, what mean ye to weep and to break my heart? Break your heart. You've been warned not to go to Jerusalem because you could die, be bound and die, taken captive, forever locked up, and not be able to do what Yahuwah has called you to do. And that grieves us. You could physically lose your life. The disciples in Ephesus, the assembly in Ephesus cried when Paul left because Paul told them he wouldn't see him again. They knew what that could mean. Paul had already was convinced. He was going to Jerusalem to die and to be locked up. He says, for I am ready not to be bound only, but also to die in Jerusalem for the name of Yahushua HaMashiach. But Yahushua told you not to go. So, you gonna die prematurely, or you gonna set yourself up to be locked up prematurely because you don't want to listen to the Ruach HaKodesh. Because see, this is what that looks like. You have an obligation throughout this witness to trust in the Ruach HaKodesh in everything. Not just when you come to the church or in the Shabbat, or not when you in feast day mode, right? But when Yahushua is telling you, listen, you need to call this sister, invite this sister over, and minister this witness of Yahushua HaMashiach, and to pray for her. And you got the Ruach HaKodesh, and you say, well, I'm not going to do that, because I got kids. And then I got to tell my husband. He may not be agreeing with it because, now I got to bring these people into the house. I don't know. You going to quench the Ruach HaKodesh. You ain't going to obey Yahuwah and Yahushua. Righteous. What is that going to mean? Because you didn't obey. I don't know why I'm saying this like this, but listen. There's consequences. There's a fulfillment of Scripture. fulfillment of Scripture is, right, that you must obey and lead and be led by the Ruach HaKodesh, because if you don't, there's consequences. Okay. Now listen. Verse 14 says it all. And when he would not be persuaded, and you know, Yahuwah knew he wasn't going to be persuaded. He sent Agabus, the locust, to confirm he's going to be devoured. Because he didn't want to listen. When they would be persuaded, they know when he wouldn't be persuaded, we cease speaking to him about it. And we said, Yahuwah, your will be done. Yahuwah, your will be done. Right? So we know that, Paul was confronted by, the Yahudim there, and, they wanted him to take a vow, and Paul took the vow, and he shut in to demonstrate his commitment to the Torah. Because, we have here established, right, after Paul testified to the assembly that he was addressing, his commitment and what was wrought with the ministry to the Gentiles, right? The Yahudim in Jerusalem said in verse 20, that 21st chapter, and when they heard it, they glorified Elohiym. They praised Yahuwah for what the Gentiles and what Paul had done ministry-wise. Because they took the letter, the people adhered to what Paul had said, and they received the witness of Yerushalayim and the Ruach HaKodesh. They're excited because you got witnesses, right? Of Yerushalayim, right? The Besorah is being preached, right? And said unto him, thou seest the brother? You see your Hebrew brothers, right? How many thousands of Yahudim there are which believe in the witness of Yerushalayim, and they are all zealous of the Torah, right? Because they can obey the Torah now. They have Yahuwah on the inside of them, right? They have the witness of the Ruach HaKodesh. They can be zealous of the witness of Yerushalayim. They can keep the Torah. Right, Yahushua said, if you love me, you'll keep my commandments as I have kept the Father's commandments. Right? They weren't consistently keeping the commandments. Because if they were, the apostle would not have had a reason to say, right, how many Jews there are which believe and are zealous, right, of the law. Zealous, right? We looked at that Greek word, I think, yesterday. That Greek word zealous means?
Strong's G, 2207. Zealotes.
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 One burning with zeal. One burning with zeal. Like having a strong desire, are more eagerly desirous, right, to keep the commandments because they can. Because the Ruach HaKodesh in them gives them the capacity to. The witness of Yahuwah and Yahushua, right? Ezekiel 36 and 27, right? 36 and 27. And I will put my Ruach HaKodesh within you, and within you, and cause you, the Ruach HaKodesh, to walk in my statutes. So yeah, they could be more zealous of keeping the law, because Ezekiel prophesied that it would happen. That Yahuwah said that you will walk in my statutes and you will keep my judgments and do them. Because now you have the Ruach HaKodesh. They were zealous. So not only do you have the Gentiles keeping the witness of Yahushua HaMashiach, now you have our people established whom Yahushua had came for, right? That are going to be a part of the kingdom of Yahuwah and Elohiym, right? Right? Because they're going to be a part of the kingdom too. They're going to be quickened. They're going to be raised and serve in the kingdom. Because during their time, they received the witness of Yahushua HaMashiach and kept the commandments. Walked in the obedience of Torah. They kept the commandments. Paul taught the Gentiles to obey the Torah. He did. They didn't have a covenant of circumcision. Everybody had the covenant to obey. They didn't have the covenant of circumcision, but everybody has the covenant, which is to obey the commandments. So we know that as a result, right, Paul's in the temple with these 4 Yahudim who made a vow that they asked Paul to accept and be a part of, to show his allegiance in the witness of Yahushua Mashiach, and that he in no wise taught the Gentiles to teach. He taught the Yahudim that they didn't need to keep circumcision. He said, "No, I ain't done that." Okay, well, we got these brews that have made a vow, and we want you to agree with them in that vow, and you take it with them and do the purification and wait for the sacrifice. And oh yeah, that which Yahudim did. Paul did it. He did it. Paul kept Torah. He was Yahudim. Paul didn't violate Torah. Paul didn't violate Torah. All right, so, right, Paul found himself, after 7 days, his purification, in the temple, locked in. They were in there. There was some Yahudim that came up for Ephesus, you know, the ones that was always causing trouble. Starting stuff, making up lies. Well, they did that with Paul. Right? You know, Paul might have thought, you know, he was going to be okay. Because he went with the Yahudim, you know, he satisfied that thing and they went into a purification, you know, and, you know, we all good. No. Yahuwah's word must come to pass. Right? He didn't even get out of the purification ceremony. When the Yahudim that came up, that stirred up the rest of the Jews who weren't in agreement with what the assemblies had established already, what the heads of the church had established. Because, you know, you had Yahudim that were receptive to what had occurred and they were excited about it. But then you had those that were still of the sort religious that didn't believe that the Gentiles belonged in the sanctuary. Right? They came in to the church and they grabbed Paul and dragged him out, having been through the purification to reflect that he was in agreement with what the Yahudim had said. But the Jews lied. Said, yo, no, he was teaching that, and then he was bringing Gentiles into the assembly and defiling it. Huh? See, and Huh? They drug him out. They beat him. And he would have been dead. They would have beat him to death after having went through the purification. Had it not been for the fact that this captain, right, who was there, this chief that was there to provide the civility to keep people in check, right, took some Roman centurions with him when they heard of this ruckus that was occurring, right, and this man being beat down to death. Upon getting to them, right, he told the people that they needed to stop, right? People stopped. And they picked up Paul. Started asking, what's going on? What's this about? Da-da-da-da-da-da. And we end in this 21st chapter at the 40th verse. Because they asked Paul some questions. Let's start 37th. And as Paul was to be led into the castle, he said unto the chief captain, he said, may I speak unto thee? Who said, canst thou speak Greek? So you have Paul, this ruddy brother, right? Ruddy. My color, ruddy. Has a ruddy colored brother, right? Speaking Greek, right? They said unto him, art not now the Ethiopian? Right? Because they, you look like Ethiopian. You dark skinned. You black. Why are you speaking Greek? Who are you? I mean, you speak Greek? The Ethiopian before these days made us an uproar and led us out into the wilderness, and 4,000 men were murdered. What? Right? But Paul says, I am a man, Yahudiy of Tarsus, of the city of Cilicia, a citizen of no mean city. And I beseech thee, suffer me to speak unto the people. Suffer me to speak to him. Right? And when he had given him license, Paul stood on the stairs and beckoned with his hands unto the people. And when he had made a great silence to speak unto them in Hebrew tongue, saying, so Paul spoke to the centurion in Greek and asked for permission to speak to the people in Hebrew. Right? This is what this looks like. The witness of Yahusha and Yahuwah. Right? Because Paul failed to listen to the Ruach HaKodesh, but was straightened because he thought he needed to go and tell what was occurring in the churches and the assemblies amongst the Gentile nations. Right? Took a vow to show that, no, he's not teaching Hebrews not to be circumcised. That's our custom. That is something to be practiced throughout our generations. Throughout our generations. It's not done away with. It's not annulled. But Yahuwah establishes this covenant of Yahushua HaMashiach and the Ruach HaKodesh, which seals all of that for us. It doesn't negate it. It doesn't take it out of the way, right? It doesn't remove it, right? It fulfills it, right? The Gentiles aren't obligated to it because they don't have an Abrahamic covenant. The covenant was made with the people, the 12 tribes. And throughout their generation, they're supposed to keep this. Now, a Gentile could be circumcised, and Yahuwah's not going to say that's not the thing to do. They want to do it. They want to establish that in themselves, but it's not a requirement. It's not a requirement because he allowed them to do it in the original covenant. Nothing's changed. They can still do it, right? It can still be established in the covenant of Yahuwah, right? With the Ruach HaKodesh. They just get circumcised and don't get Yahushua Mashiach's witness. And they just like the Yahudiym that are of the tribes, that are of the lineage, that are of it, and don't receive the witness of Yahushua Mashiach. They all gonna die and go to hell. Okay, so you gotta obey the witness. Let's go into the 22nd chapter, right? So now, Paul's getting ready to kind of talk about some things, right? He says, men and brethren and fathers, hear ye my defense unto you. Hear my defense now unto you, right? Which I make is added, but my defense now unto you. And when they heard that he spake in the Hebrew tongue to them, they kept the more silent, right? Because they reverenced the fact that he was speaking to them in the Hebraic language. They had reverence for cultural traditions and practices, right? Because I'm sure that they understood, some of them understood Greek, they understood the languages, right? But they spoke Hebrew. And he specifically spoke in Hebrew tongue. Right? Not Yiddish. Okay. He says, and I am verily a man, a Jew, a Yahudiym, born in Tarsus, in Cilicia, yet brought up in this city, at the feet of Gamliy'el. Okay, I'm a citizen of Sicily, right? Tarsus. But I was brought up in Jerusalem. Studied at the feet of Gamliy'el, right? Now, who is Gamliy'el, right?
Strong's G 1059. Gamliy'el.
Gamliy'el, right? My recompenser is Elohiym. That's what his name means. My recompenser is Elohiym, right? He says, Gamliy'el was a Pharisee and celebrated doctor of the Torah, who gave prudent worldly advice in the Sanhedrin respecting the treatment of the followers of Yahushua HaMashiach of Nazareth. We learn from Acts 22:3 that he was the predecessor of Paul, right? He is generally identified with the very celebrated Jewish doctor Gamliy'el, grandson of Hillel, and who is referred to as authority in the Jewish Mishnah. Whatever. Jewish Mishnah, whatever, right? He was an instructor, well respected amongst the Pharisees, right? Respecter of the Pharisees, the Torah, right? Right? Paul says, and taught according to the perfect manner of the Torah. He was taught in the Torah. Perfect manner of the Torah. Now, Paul is appealing to them in a manner in which he knows that they find place in identity with. They can identify in this place that Paul is talking. In this place, I don't mean Jerusalem, but in this space. And what he's talking to, they can relate. Right? to the perfect manner of the Torah of the fathers, and was zealous towards Elohiym, as ye all are this day. I was zealous to Elohiym, as you are this day. I was committed to making sure that the law was carried out to the letter. Right? Not according to knowledge, but according to as I was taught. Right? Was taught. And I persecuted this way unto the death, binding and delivering unto prison both men and women. Same thing you're doing now, I did. So these Yahudim aren't the Yahudim that were established in the witness of Yerushalayim. These were totally different sort of people. Because Paul says, listen, I was doing the same thing you were doing. Now, if you are righteous Yahudim with the witness of Yerushalayim having received the Ruach HaKodesh, you ain't storming in no building dragging out Paul. Because you already understand what the witness is. You understand what that looks like. You understand what that looks like, right? See, the people that get stirred up are the people that are already in that vein, right? You're only stirring up the people that are anti-Hamashiach and anti-witness, right? Right? And there's still plenty of them in the city. Plenty. Oh, yeah, there's still plenty of them, right? Right? Because they beat Paul and almost killed him. And they probably would have killed him had not the chief of the city take some centurions to rescue Paul. But then the word of Yahuwah had to be fulfilled, because Yahuwah said that they would bind you and you'd be turned over to the Gentiles. And they beat him down pretty good, but he gonna get bound and turned over to the Gentiles. Right? He says, putting both men and women in prison. Right? Verse 5. And also the high priest do bear me witness. High priest will witness to this fact. Who might be amongst you. Who has not received the witness of Yerushalayim. And also the high priest do bear me witness, and all the estate of the elders. Right? From whom also I received letters unto the brethren, and went to Damascus to bring them which were bound unto Jerusalem for to be punished. Just like you're doing to me. Right? Right? And it came to pass that as I was on my journey and come nigh unto Damascus about noonday, suddenly there shone from the Shamayim a great light round about me. Now Paul's talking about his conversion. Right? He still is trying to convince the Yahudim of the witness that Yahushua HaMashiach, right? Yahushua, he is HaMashiach. Right? Now, he was told not to go to Jerusalem. Right? Could have forgone all of this. Because Yahuwah has people that he has chosen. And he has those that he hasn't chosen. And sometimes you got to begin to realize that The people that you may be trying to reach, that you can't connect with, they ain't the chosen. Those folk that constantly rebel against what you have to say, that are obstinate and refuse to hear it, they ain't chosen. Don't matter who they are. Could be close friends, could be relatives. They ain't chosen. So you know what? Yahushua said, listen, don't go to Jerusalem. Don't go to Jerusalem. Don't go there, because I'm telling you, the Ruach HaKodesh is going to only lead to problems. It's Paul talking about his conversion. He said, a great light round about me, right? He said, and I fell into the ground and heard a voice saying unto me, Shaul, Shaul, why persecutest thou me? Right? And I answered, who art thou, Adonai? And he said unto me, I am Yahushua HaMashiach of Nazareth, whom thou persecuted. Right? And they that were with me saw indeed the light, and were afraid, but they heard not the voice of him that spake with me. So he's saying they saw the light, but they didn't hear what was spoken to me. Right? And I said, what shall I do, Adonai? And Adonai said unto me, arise and go into Damascus, and there it shall be told thee of all things which are appointed for thee to do. Tell them what happened, right? And when I could not see for the glory of that light, being led by the hand of them that were with me, I came to Damascus. Couldn't see. Those that were with him led him to Damascus. Right? They were on their way to Damascus. Right? And one Ananias, a devout man according to the Torah, having a good report of all the Yahudiym which dwelt there, he was a devout man of the Torah, a Yahudiym, who had the Ruach HaKodesh, who received the witness of Yahushua, who was filled with the Ruach HaKodesh, who kept the Torah. Listen, that's why, listen, as Yahudiym, there's no excuse for us not keeping the Torah. Having received the witness of Yahushua Mashiach, there's no excuse for us not keeping the Torah. There's no reason why we can't keep the Torah, because Yahushua and Yahuwah lives in us, but there's no reason or excuse for us not to. Because there's constant witnesses in here that suggest that the Torah, with the witness of Yahushua HaMashiach, makes you more zealous to keep the commandments. Ananias, according to Paul, right? Ananias was a devout man according to the Torah, having a good report of all the Yahudiym where he dwelt. He came unto me and stood and said unto me, Brother Saul, receive thy sight. And that same hour I looked up upon him. Right? And he said, Elohiym of our fathers have chosen thee, that thou shouldest know his will, and see the just one, and should hear the voice of his mouth. He's talking about what Paul experienced. That you has chosen him to do this, right? Selected him, right? He says, Elohiym of your fathers have chosen thee. Chosen thee to receive the witness. Chosen thee to receive the witness. Having chosen thee that thou shouldest know his will and see the just one. To see Yahushua HaMashiach, because you saw him. after the resurrection. You saw him because he chose to reveal himself to you, right? And should hear the voice of his mouth. He spoke to you. Yahushua HaMashiach, the just one, whose voice you heard. And thou shalt be his witness unto all men of what thou hast seen and heard. You're going to testify to what happened to you, to all men. And you're going to testify of the witness of Yahushua HaMashiach, right? And now while thou tarriest, arise and be baptized, and wash away your sins, calling on Adonai Yahushua. And it came to pass that when I was come again to Jerusalem, even while I prayed in the temple, I was in a trance. Right now, listen now. Paul received the Ruach HaKodesh. As Ananias prayed, baptized him, and laid hands on him, he received the Ruach HaKodesh. And it's interesting that he doesn't mention it here, right? He doesn't mention it here, right? He says, and it came to pass that when I was come again to Jerusalem, even while I prayed in the temple, I was in a trance, right? And saw him saying unto me, make haste, and get thee quickly out of Jerusalem, for they will not receive thy testimony concerning me. And I said, Adonai, thou knowest that I am imprisoned and beat in every synagogue them that believed on thee. I am imprisoned and beat in every synagogue them that believed on thee. Right? Paul said he did. He told Yahushua that. Right? And when the blood of thy martyr Stephen was shed, I also was standing by and consenting unto his death, and kept the raiments of them that slew him. Paul testifying to Yahushua what he did, right? And he said unto me, depart, for I will send thee far hence unto the Gentiles. I'm sending you away from Jerusalem. I'm sending you away from Jerusalem. Yahuwah told Paul, said, listen, Yahushua, I'm sending you away from Jerusalem unto the Gentiles. Right? Sending you to the Gentiles. Now, this is not the vision. It's not a vision that Paul had when they drug him out of the temple. Right? Just a few minutes ago. This is the vision that Paul received at the time after he left Ananias and was in Jerusalem, because Paul was preaching and declaring the Besorah of truth. Paul went straight away and began to do what Yahushua told him to do. Right? Right? But Yahushua told him, says, I'm going to send you far hence to the Gentiles. Right? And they gave him audience unto his words, and then lifted up their voice and said, away with such a fellow from the earth, for it is not fit that he should live. Why? Because he was instructed by Yahushua to go to the Gentiles. They had these people that were still driving the agenda. Right? It's not fit that he should live. They would have killed him. Paul said, look, he's ready to die for the witness of Yahushua Mashiach. Even though he would have died there without having been a witness before any of them people. They would have killed him just to kill him. Because that wasn't the Yahudiym that received the witness. See, but all of this could have been prevented had he just listened to the Ruach HaKodesh. Could have prevented. Paul didn't have to go through this. But Yahuwah is going to turn around and use it. Because Yahuwah is going to use Paul. Paul won't suffer some things. Yahuwah's going to use them. Because Yahuwah will use you. Listen. And as they cried out and casted off their clothes and threw dust on their heads. That's that dramatic stuff that we did as a nation of people. And disgust and humiliation and anger at what we perceive to be a violation of the Torah. That was drama. Yeah, that was drama. These people weren't moved by the witness of Yahushua Mashiach. That was drama. That was drama. There have been times that we've done that. In sincerity, but that was drama right there. There was times that our forefathers as a nation, when they were confronted with a thing that was reflective of what they had done or what they had witnessed, that was in violation to the Torah of Yahuwah and Yahusha, they would do this. They would rent their clothes and they would throw dust on their heads, right? In a sincere manner. But this right here was drama. These people were wicked. They hadn't received the witness of Yahushua Mashiach. Right? The chief captain commanded him to be brought into the castle and bade that he should be examined by scourging. Right? They're going to beat him. Right? To be examined judicially. Right? To investigate, to examine. Right? Right? That he might know whereof he cried so against him. So he bringing Paul in to beat him so he can get some answers. As if Paul had been beat enough. But see, this is what happens when you disobey or when you fail to hear or listen to the Ruach HaKodesh. See, in this case, Paul was beat, and he didn't have to be. Would Yahuwah turn around and use it? Yeah, of course he will, but he didn't have to be. Because this is what the Ruach HaKodesh looks like, right? Because the witness of Agabus is coming to pass. Because Yahuwah's word never goes out and returns void, right? The fact that the disciples told him not to go to Jerusalem, right? And he went anyway. Right? It's a fulfillment of what was spoken by Agabus. And the four virgins, we know they prophesied, but we don't know what they said. But I'm sure it had something to do with, because the emphasis was that they prophesied. Understand? Listen. So the chief captain commanded him to be brought into the castle and begged that he should be examined by scourging, that they might wherefore right? They cried so against him. So he will bring him in and beat him and find out why these people were crying so much against him, right? And as they bound him with thongs, Paul said unto the centurion that stood by, is it lawful for you to scourge a man that is a Roman and uncondemned? They would get ready to beat him. Or, because it says, as they bound him with thongs, right? Because they was getting ready to beat him, right? Right? So, let's look at this. The captain commanded him to be brought unto the castle and bade that he should be scourged, right? By scourging. Bade that he should be examined by scourging, right? That he should be beat. That he might know wherefore they cried so against him, right? And as they bound him, right, in preparation, bound him with thongs, right? Paul said unto the centurion that stood by, is it lawful for you to scourge a man that is a Roman and condemned? So the idea is that Paul was scourged, then they bound his hands, right? Right? That the Romans are bound, it says, and as they bound him and thonged with thongs, Paul said unto the centurion that stood by, is it lawful for you to scourge a man that is a Roman and uncondemned? Right? So evidently it occurred. Right? Because Paul said, you have a right to do this? Right? And when the centurion heard that, he went and told the chief captain, saying, take heed what thou doest, for this man is a Roman citizen, right? Then the chief captain came and said unto him, tell me, art thou a Roman? He said, yea, right? And then the captain answered, with a great sum obtained I this freedom. He said, how did you get the freedom of a Roman citizen? Because, Roman citizenship is granted to certain people. Like, for people who served in the Roman army, they were granted Roman citizenship. Certain people that performed certain services for Rome were given Roman citizenship. Well, Paul, how'd you get Roman citizenship? You look Ethiopian. You black. You ruddy. You look like that Egyptian. You don't look like us. How did you get Roman citizenship, right? And Paul said, I was freeborn. I was born in Cilicia of Tarsus, right? It was province. That was Roman territory. I was born there, right? Then straightway they departed from him, which should have examined him. And the captain also was afraid, and he knew that he was a Roman, and because he had bound him. So he was afraid because he bound him, but he didn't beat him. So the idea is that he bound him, right? And you can't bind a Roman citizen without having proper charges, right? And on the morrow, because he would have known the certainty whereof he was accused of, the Yahudiym, he loosed his hands and bands and commanded the chief priests and all their council to appear. and brought Paul down and set him before them. All right. So what we have is what has happened to Paul. Right? This whole fiasco is because Paul didn't want to listen to the Ruach HaKodesh. And it's important that this was put in here so that you understand, even with the Ruach HaKodesh, you may be moving and know that you have the Ruach HaKodesh, but Yahuwah will send somebody a word, a Ruach, a word that will minister to your heart. And that word will convict you and let you know that you're not supposed to do a thing, but you'll do it anyway. The Ruach HaKodesh, you can't quench it. It's there to show you, to help you, to keep you, to comfort you, to guide you, to lead you. Right? Paul would have never had to go. Paul would have never had to deal with a vow. Right? Never had to deal with a vow. Never would have had to been drug out of the city, because he would have been doing exactly what you had told him to do in Jerusalem. I mean, in the territories of the Gentiles, right? Doing what you had told him, reaching the Gentiles with the witness, right? Right? Could have been in Rome preaching. Could have been in other places, right? Yahuwah's still going to turn around and use it for his good. Paul didn't have to go. Right? Paul witnessed Yahushua Hamashiach to those Yahudim. They didn't care. They threw dirt on their hair, rent their clothes like they were right. Because the witness was already in Jerusalem. It was already established that there were thousands that had received the witness of Yahushua Hamashiach. Already established. Right? He could have sent a letter. He could have sent a letter. Could have sent a letter. Could have sent a letter. That's all we have for today, man of Yah, woman of Yah, called to greatness. Understand this. There's consequences to not giving heed to the Ruach HaKodesh. You can have the Ruach HaKodesh. You can be filled with the Ruach HaKodesh and be straightened to do a thing that you want to do for you. See, my prayer is that I never allow myself to do anything without the Ruach HaKodesh's guidance and leading. There are things that I have feel compelled to do in my heart in the Ruach HaKodesh. Right? Some things that I feel like I just need to do. But the Ruach HaKodesh, I pray that he would show me. That's why, for me, it's not about running. It's not going and just jumping in and just doing a thing without knowing that the Ruach HaKodesh is saying, okay, I'm with you. Yahuwah, sending a word, showing you something, speaking it to you, giving you a vision. Why? Because you have the Ruach HaKodesh. You have the witness of Yahuwah and Yahusha in you. These signs follow you because you believe. You have to be that select, a righteous from the righteous plant. And if you are, then Yahuwah is not going to cause you to be caught up in something that is not ruachally of his plan and purpose. You have to trust Yahuwah and Yahusha. Father, in the name of Yahushua Hamashiach, Abba, I pray that they realize what the witness of Yahushua Hamashiach looked like and how that it will lead them and guide them into all truth. Yahweh, I pray that the words that you have given me, I've given them. I pray that they would receive 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 them by the Ruach HaKodesh. Yahuwah, I thank you for the witness of Shaul. I thank you for the witness of Shaul. I thank you for the lesson to be learned in Shaul. For he was a man that was chosen in your Ruach HaKodesh by Yahushua HaMashiach himself. And Yahushua requires that he listens as much as me and anyone that receives his witness. Yahuwah, I pray. I pray that their people would hear and receive this witness, this Torah, this truth, and they would obey it. Yahuwah, in the name of Yahushua Mashiach. Yahuwah, I pray for my brothers and my sisters who need healing. I pray, Yahuwah, I send forth the word of healing in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach. I send forth the word of healing. Yahuwah, you said that we would lay hands on the sick and they shall recover. Yahuwah, I know that the Ruach is not locked into time or space. And I believe in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach and by the Ruach HaKodesh and the word of healing, that if it goes forth from my lips in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach, it is established wherever it's received. Now I say in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach to the mountain of sickness, be removed and be thou cast into the sea. In the name of Yahushua HaMashiach. Yahuwah, I declare healing in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach to those who are under the sound of my voice, to those who are receiving the witness of Yahushua HaMashiach. I speak a word of healing. Yahuwah, I pray that you would deliver the captives, set them free by the witness of Yahushua HaMashiach and the receiving of the Ruach HaKodesh, that you would lead them and guide them into all truth. In the name of Yahushua HaMashiach, I pray. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, Yahuwah, my strength and my redeemer. Man of Yah, woman of Yah, called to greatness. Woman of Yahuwah, beautifully and wonderfully made. There's a cost to not listening to the Ruach HaKodesh. There's a price to be paid. Right? The word of Yahuwah will go forth. Oh, yeah. You have to receive the witness of the Ruach HaKodesh. You have to walk in the truth of the Besorah. You have to let the witness of Yahushua HaMashiach quicken you always. You have to walk in the Ruach of wisdom and revelation concerning your knowledge of him. Everything that Yahushua has provided in the Ruach HaKodesh is beneficial to you. It equips you. You don't have to worry about being led. All you have to do is submit to the Ruach HaKodesh. You don't have to worry about wisdom and understanding. All you got to do is submit to the Ruach HaKodesh. You ain't got to worry about defending yourself. All you got to do is trust in the Ruach HaKodesh. It's Ruach HaKodesh of truth. And we have exactly what we need to get the job done. Man of Yah, woman of Yah, that's all I have. Listen, it's pre-Shabbat. And I love the Shabbat. I look forward to the Shabbat. I look forward to the Zoom with the Besorah of truth and those who are going to be there. I praise Yahuwah for that. And listen, we understand. It's about the witness of Yahushua HaMashiach. It's about the witness of Yahushua HaMashiach, right? It's about the Ruach HaKodesh, right? With that I say, man of Eluah, woman of Yahuwah and Eluah, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Be blessed and walk in the favor of Yahuwah and Yahushua. Shalom.
Torah guardian, speaking the absolute truth. Torah nation.